You have a very good defense about to play together again this year. You'll get better. A really young core.
Hopefully.
Then you add Devontae Adams in the mix with Puka Nacua with the running game.
Yes.
I think the Rams have closed the gap a little bit, and you can go quarterback for quarterback. Matthew Stafford, Jalen Hurts, they can go at it.
They've improved the offensive line. They improved their defense. They added a new running back to that running back room as well. Devontae Adams with Puka Nacua. And then they added Poona Ford to the middle of that defense from the Chargers. Guys, what if they go ahead and figure out how to get Jalen Ramsey back?
Great nucleus of young talent, plus Matthew Stafford still there for at least another year. The window is open for the Rams.
The Rams have structured themselves to be one of the most consistently dangerous teams in the NFL. After a Super Bowl high and a quick fall, most expected the Rams to enter a full-blown rebuild. And instead, they reloaded, and now they might be one of the biggest threats in the entire NFC. With a mastermind head coach, a revitalized Matthew Stafford, explosive young talent on both sides of the ball, and several new exciting signings, it's fair to say the ceiling is sky high at SoFi Stadium. And that's exactly why the Los Angeles Rams might be one of the scariest teams in the NFL heading into 2025. Now, of course, let's start by taking a look back at last season and what had happened. The Rams had bounced back well in 2023, but needed to take another step primarily on the defensive side of the ball. In free agency, they patched up holes all over, bringing in Jonah Jackson on the offensive line to help push star running back Kyren Williams forward, as well as Darius Williams and Trey White at corner, and Christian Roseboom at linebacker. But most of the damage was done in the draft, where they brought in Jared Verse from Florida State in the first round, and Verse was one of the biggest steals of the draft, a consensus top 3 defensive player in 2024, and the Defensive Rookie of the Year after being taken 19th overall. The Rams then doubled down on seminal defenders, drafting Braden Fisk in the second round before adding 2 other defensive linemen on day 3. They also added Wolverines tailback Blake Corum to add some insurance behind Williams in the backfield, and Cameron Kitchens as reinforcements in the defensive secondary. Their rebuilt defense had a full roster, but with a refreshed coaching staff following a mass exodus on defense to Atlanta, new defensive coordinator Chris Shula would have his hands full. The plan remained simple on offense: bruise and bash defenses with Kyren Williams, and open up passing lanes for Matthew Stafford to find Cooper Kupp and breakout star Puka Nacua. And truthfully, the path to success was pretty straightforward and paved throughout the entire season, but just like 2023, the Rams kind of stumbled out of the gate. They started the season 1-4 before their Week 6 bye. Just like 2023, however, the Rams also came out of their bye ready to rumble, going 9-3 the rest of the way, and the weight of their success was through the run game, with the team recording 100+ yards rushing in 7 of the 9 wins. Kyren Williams was the engine of the offense, totaling almost 1,400 all-purpose yards and accounting for 30% of the team's first downs.
In the pocket, touchdown! Little pitch. Williams gonna get there, in for the touchdown!
Play action, Stafford on the move, stops, finds his man, touchdown Williams!
But we definitely can't take away from the passing game because they did their fair share as well. With Matthew Stafford throwing comfortably for 3,700 yards in 16 games with 20 touchdowns and just 8 interceptions, it was a great mark following a few years blemished with turnovers.
Fake to Williams, Stafford fires downfield, and is caught for a touchdown!
Stafford, back foot, slinging for Parkinson!
Forced by Jalen Carter.
Beautiful throws by Stafford.
His connection with young Puka Nacua got even stronger, with the second-year player being LA's leading receiver, nearly cracking 1,000 yards despite playing just 11 games. His size and separation ability set him apart, and his hands were magnets, catching 75% of his targets and accounting for nearly 20% of Stafford's total targets on the year.
Second and goal, quick out to Nacua, and he takes it in. They give it to Nacua, left side, he scores anyway! Touchdown, Los Angeles!
The team definitely didn't score as many points that would be expected from a McVay offense, which was just around 21.6 per game, but there were other pieces on the team that did make up for it. The biggest improvement in the story of the year was on the defensive side of the ball in 2024, and the team's biggest boon by a mile was their pass rush. LA posted Pro Football Focus's 6th best pass rushing defense in 2024, only behind teams with world beaters like TJ Watt and Myles Garrett and the Eagles, who did win the Super Bowl with their pass rush. The leaders of this pass rush were all either first or second year players, with all 4 recording 8 or more sacks and 3 reaching double digits by the end of the postseason run. Kobe Turner and Byron Young were both third-round picks by LA in 2023, and while both had shown ups and downs as rookies, their jump in year 2 was absolutely stunning, combining for 15.5 sacks. Meanwhile, the Florida State duo in Jared Verse and Braden Fisk combined for 13 sacks, with Fisk being the higher number guy. On tape though, Verse was the one putting quarterbacks in absolute blenders. His 66 quarterback hurries led the team as he recorded a pass rush win rate of almost 20%. And if I break it down for you, that basically means that every time an offensive lineman faced off against Verse, there was a 1 in 5 chance their quarterback would end up under pressure. In true pass sets and single coverage against an outside tackle, Verse was one of the top 10 most efficient players in the league, as he graded almost perfectly by PFF, which was on par with Chris Jones and Nick Bosa. He then went on to take home the 2025 Defensive Rookie of the Year award with his skills and became a certified defensive leader as a rookie. LA's defense got dialed in after the bye too, averaging just under 21 points per game, including 3 straight games of holding opponents under 10 points from weeks 15 to 17. Then in the playoffs, they absolutely dominated as well. In their 2 playoff games, they recorded 16 total sacks, tying them for the 3rd most in a single postseason ever, tied with a Bills team that went to the Super Bowl in the '85 Bears. And what's crazy about that whole thing too is they managed doing all of that in just 2 games. The 4-star pass rushers combined for 8 of the 16, while their teammates poured it on, especially while dismantling the Vikings. And as we all know, in the divisional round, their season sadly did come to an end to the Eagles, especially when it was being played in the snow. It was just a crazy game. Like after the 4th quarter touchdown drive that was followed by a Turner sack to force a punt, the Rams marched all the way down to the Philadelphia 13-yard line before a Jalen Carter sack and Puka drop ended the season. And now, while we're going through this video, truthfully, you might even recognize that we haven't mentioned one guy with just a bigger name, I should say, that was a part of this Rams team last year. And well, it's because Cooper Kupp was actually pretty underwhelming last season in 2024. After winning the receiving Triple Crown in 2021, Kupp was limited by injuries, and that trend kind of stayed the same in 2024 as he played just 12 games. In those games, he was still asked to be himself by Stafford, drawing 100 targets, but the explosiveness was lacking from his game, and he totaled just 710 yards and 6 touchdowns. And trust me, that's not bad by all means. I mean, it's not great either, but when you're going to take a $30 million cap hit from this guy, it's definitely something that you would expect a little bit more out of. And because of that too, it was pretty clear that, well, change needed to happen. At age 31, set to be 32 before the 2025 season, the Rams tried to shop Kupp around, but wound up cutting him before the roster bonuses hit against the cap, leading the Super Bowl 56 MVP to sign with the Seattle Seahawks. So now with Puka Nacua set to fully step in as wide receiver 1, the Rams decided to bring in former Packer, Raider, and Jet Davante Adams as their new veteran pass catcher. He definitely is at a similar age to Kupp, which is kind of what made the move so confusing to fans, but it clicked in terms of availability and how much Adams seems to have left in the tank. Like, as crazy as it sounds too, the 6-time Pro Bowler is 3 yards in 2019 away from 7 straight 1,000-yard receiving seasons and has been more of a consistent red zone threat throughout his career than anyone on the Rams roster. And don't get me wrong, because Puka is definitely still going to be the primary option, but Adams can open up the field a little bit more for Stafford as a passer, and with Kupp gone as the primary slot receiver, Puka will be more comfortable playing wherever he will be able to get the biggest impact on the field. And from there too, pretty much the rest of the offseason was focused on just getting their offensive and defensive lines better. After trading Jonah Jackson to the Bears for draft compensation, they replaced him with ironically former Bear Coleman Shelton. They also opened up the bank account for the Chargers standout D lineman and Ford, a veteran to anchor a group of young firecrackers. Free agency was overall pretty relatively quiet for the Rams, mostly dedicated to retaining depth pieces like Witherspoon and special teams players like Ronnie Rivers. The draft, however, that kind of showed everybody how confident the Rams are in their roster. At the bottom of the first round, despite having multiple top corners still on the board, the Rams traded down with the Falcons, admittedly for an absolute haul, passing on drafting a player until 46 overall. And personally for me, I think that was a fantastic trade because now that trade basically did give them, hopefully, a much better quarterback draft in 2026, so that way they can find Matthew Stafford's successor. But it also was a great move too because, well, that move showed how much faith the front office has in the roster that they've already built outside of the draft. With that second rounder from the Falcons too, the Rams drafted Terrence Ferguson from Oregon, one of the best tight ends on the board after the top two guys were taken. Then they added Josiah Stewart, another star pass rusher, to contribute to their dominant line. Other front seven picks included Ty Hamilton from Ohio State and Chris Paul Jr. from Ole Miss, a serious steal in the 5th round. One of the more underrated picks of the Rams draft, however, was Jarquiz Hunter, a running back from Auburn. I mean, despite being a 4th round pick, Hunter has already shown out in Rams OTAs, and McVay's excitement in draft day videos shows just how good of a fit this back might be for this offense. So if I were you, I would keep an eye on Hunter as a number 2 to Kyren Williams if Blake Corum doesn't take the leap that they want him to this year. And yes, while they didn't add to the secondary, the Rams did show faith in their offensive staff and made their pass rushers even more dangerous. But we definitely have to go back to Sean McVay though, and truthfully just kind of be more realistic, I should say, about what to expect out of this Rams offense now. With a bunch of jumbled up pieces last season, they still managed to have big playability, and it was thanks to the creativity of McVay and the talent of Matthew Stafford. And I mean, truthfully, ever since the rough 2022 season, it feels like McVay has become sneakily underrated. Like, we've seen a lot of these younger coaches rise to the top, like Ben Johnson and Kevin O'Connell, and McVay kind of has been lost in the fold despite being a 2-time NFC champion and Super Bowl winning head coach all in the last decade. Like, the dude consistently fields great offenses, and his coaching tree is one of the most vast in the NFL. His teams are always great or a year away from being great with no expectations. And after the promise that this Rams team showed with a young defense and a broken down Cooper Kupp last season, they're ready to absolutely go off in 2025. Now, in that same vein too, let's not pretend that Matthew Stafford is going to somehow fall off of a cliff in 2025. Yes, does he take a hit every once in a while late in the season where you think he's going to just his career's going to end? Yes, but the dude still can play some good football. Like, I mean, as crazy as it sounds too, he's 37, which statistically is nowhere near the fall-off age of historical greats with similar athletic profiles like Brett Favre, which he does resemble. And Stafford has really always been a tank, and with such a great offense around him, he won't be taking nearly as many sacks, with the number consistently hanging around 30 since he got to LA. When he is healthy, he's always come close or passed for 4,000 yards per season, and his touchdown numbers have dipped, but only as a credit to the great run game they've established behind him. As a unit, this Rams offense is going to be absolutely deadly in 2025. Stafford is projected to stick around 3,700 yards passing, while Nacua is expected to go absolutely nuclear, with his receiving yards line over 1,200 yards. Add in the fact that Davante Adams isn't expected to skip a beat, projected to get close to the 1,000-yard mark as well, and Kyren Williams is also expected to blow past 1,000 yards on the ground again, even with the additions of Hunter to the running back room. As a whole, the offense just got deeper and better constructed. With the additions of Ferguson and Adams to the offense, every single player on the field on a given offensive snap could be explosive with the ball, which is a rare thing that some teams want to admit. Stafford, I truly does believe, have one more great season left in the tank, and I think it's on deck. On top of that too, the defense has doubled down on having the scariest pass rush in football, with the additions of Ford and Josiah Stewart looking like icing on the cake. And yes, there are a few questions in the secondary, but nothing matters if the opposing quarterbacks are eating turf every other play. With a second-year Jared Verse and Braden Fisk hunting alongside a seasoned Kobe Turner and Byron Young, it may even be more often than not that the quarterback is eating turf. Add in the fact too that the NFC is full of questions, with the 49ers and Lions in flux, while the Vikings and Seahawks test out new quarterbacks. The only real threat to the Rams are the Bucs, who LA is more talented than, and the Commanders, who are facing a Jaden Daniels sophomore slump, and the Eagles, who the Rams pushed closer to the edge than any other team last postseason. With their incredible coaching staff having survived the vultures of the offseason, they will be able to keep their momentum from last year and finally get off to a good start. If they can avoid the rocky first few weeks that have plagued them over the past few seasons, there's no reason that the LA Rams can't win 12 or more games and maybe even take the NFC 1 seed. There's no doubt about it, every team in the NFC, Philadelphia included, should be scared of the LA Rams.
And we are back for overtime. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are on the couch again. Had to come over here because, well, this is where I wanted to sit today. I'm gonna be honest. It's a couple days later than I had already wanted to record this video and everything, but we're on the couch. We got the doggo chilling, dead asleep, probably waking him up from his nap. We're watching some TV, and I thought it would be a good idea for us to hop into overtime and for us to talk about the LA Rams because, well, the LA Rams, I think, are going to be a serious threat for the Philadelphia Eagles and just for the entire NFC this year. I truly do think that just the Philadelphia Eagles are going to feel threatened. The Philadelphia Eagles could have lost that NFC, divisional game against the Rams last year had, not Jared Verse, that's the Rams guy, had Jalen Carter not sacked Matthew Stafford on the goal line. If he doesn't get that sack, Rams might be winning the Super Bowl last year. And I mean, based off what we saw too from what happened in the Super Bowl, the Rams have a very similar build to what the Philadelphia Eagles have. Not the exact same, but very similar at least. And I think they could have won the Super Bowl had they gotten there. But start the time, and we are in overtime. Like I said, start it right now. It's popping in the screen. Overall, though, I really do think that with the additions that the Rams have made from this past offseason and just the growth we saw of this defense last year, they are a threat. I mean, truthfully, Jared Verse and Braden Fisk, I think that's how you say it. Sorry, I think in the video I did say it wrong. So if you made it this far in the video and I was pronouncing it Brandon, I was reading it too fast. I know. I'm sorry. Fisk, I'm sorry. Okay? Everybody in the comment section that already jumped in the comment section and then left the video, I'm sorry. So hopefully you're here, and I'm sorry if I mispronounced his name. Correct me still. But yeah, overall, I think those two guys played exceptionally well. I mean, hell, Verse won Defensive Rookie of the Year last year, and he was almost like the leader of that young defense, and we were watching them grow and get better throughout the entire season last year. You know, in that, I think in the postseason, actually, they had the most like quarterback hits or rushes out of any team in the playoffs, and they only played 2 games. I said it in the video, just double check, but that's absolutely insane. Like, and then they went out and they retooled. They brought in Ford and some other guys in the draft too. Like, they retooled. They didn't lose anybody. And if you, like I said, if you want to call Cooper Kupp them losing somebody, Davante Adams replaced him. Like, I just don't see where they got weaker. And if anything, they retooled, got stronger. They have Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford, who I do think, as long as he can stay healthy, will have a couple more years in him, play well, and they are inside of their Super Bowl window 100% because of how they drafted and all the guys that have, well, panned out because of what Snead has been able to do inside of the draft. And he almost kind of reminds me of this team again. I'm going to keep saying it. They remind me of an Eagles team, but they're not as like full of like big powerhouse names yet. You know, I mean, they do have, you know, Stafford, Davante Adams, Kyron Williams, Puka Nacua, like all those names are starting to become household names. I mean, Stafford obviously and Adams obviously already are, but just that it's like they're building something very similar to what the Eagles have and have been building for a while, especially with how the Eagles defense was very young a couple of years ago. And then they grew into each other. They grew into that defense and they made it to the Super Bowl. They did lose to the Chiefs that first time, but then they came back the second time and absolutely dominated them. It's almost what we're seeing happen in LA too, is they didn't make it to the Super Bowl, obviously, but they gave the Super Bowl champions probably the best game of their postseason to the Philadelphia Eagles, who were the Super Bowl champs. And now this year, they retooled, didn't lose anything, and I for sure think they have a chance. But let me know in the comment section what you guys think. Personally, for me, the NFC West is an absolute crapshoot. I just think that it's kind of funny because it's almost like the Niners are expected to win that division. And then if they don't win the NFC West, everybody's like, well, that's okay. It's just a down year for the Niners. It's never, oh, the Rams were freaking good this year. No. It's always that it was just an off year for the Niners. Like, no, I think that the Rams are going to win this division. Like, personally for me, I'm probably going to place a future for the Rams to either win the NFC or win the Super Bowl or both. That's how good I think this team is. I think that they are very underrated. And if they can They do have a little bit harder of a schedule than the Niners, but if the Rams can manage those 3 or 4 games that are a little bit harder than the Niners, why can't the Rams be a 1 or a 2 seed in this conference? Like, it just amazes me that a lot of people seem to not have liked the signing of Davante Adams, but he's better than Cooper Kupp was last year. Cooper Kupp was starting to decline, and Davante Adams has remained consistent. And now when you pair him with Puka Nacua, Kyron Williams, and the tight end that they have too that they drafted, I forget his name. I can't think of it right now off the top of my head. They are set and good to go. And then the defense, I keep bringing up the defense. I cannot explain it how much I love this defense, how good they are. Now, for me, let me know in the comment section what you guys think, because truthfully, I don't really know if not Davante Adams. I don't really know if Jalen Ramsey is going to take this defense to the next level. For me, cornerback that old, past his prime, I just don't think that they're worth the investment. But a lot of people seem to think that when Ramsey's healthy, he's a difference maker, and that's their opinion. For me, I still think that it might be a little bit of a stretch. I think he's kind of past his prime, and they shouldn't waste their time with him. But who knows? I mean, they truthfully could go and get him, and maybe he has flashes of prime Jalen Ramsey and becomes a superstar again for the Rams and helps them get back to the Super Bowl and wins another ring with them. Who knows? But I want to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comment section. Are the Rams contenders, pretenders? Are they just going to win the NFC West? Let me know in the comment section what you guys think. And as always, if you made it to overtime, comment overtime. And as always, say it with me, everybody. I'll catch y'all in the next one.